Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. In the fall of 1943, a 40-year-old woman climbed into a Soviet T-34 tank on the Eastern Front. She had paid for that tank herself. She had written a letter to Joseph Stalin asking his permission to do exactly this. And Stalin, one of the most ruthless and paranoid leaders in human history, had actually said yes. Her name was Mariya Oktyabrskaya. She named the tank Fighting Girlfriend. And what she did with it in the months that followed was quite extraordinary. Today's history brief returns to some strange history. A quick word from our sponsors.
The next 30 seconds could save you hundreds on your car insurance. At The Hartford, we're passionate about your protection. If you're 50 or over, AARP Auto Insurance from The Hartford gives you benefits that really matter. And you could save $597 when you switch. How's that for a little peace of mind? Visit trusthartford.com today. The Hartford, your protection is our passion. The Hartford Insurance Group, Inc. pays royalty fees to AARP for the use of its intellectual property. AARP and its affiliates are not insurers. Savings vary.
This day in history. On April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. His death sparked grief and unrest across the nation, but also strengthened the movement for civil rights. On April 4th, 1949, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, was founded, establishing a military alliance that would define Cold War geopolitics and continues to shape global security today. Story of the day. Mariya Oktyabrskaya was born in 1905 in Crimea, one of 10 children in a peasant family. Her life was shaped by the upheavals of revolutionary Russia, poverty, civil war, the violent transformation of an empire into a Soviet state. She married Ilya Oktyabrski, a career military officer, in the late 1920s. It was, by the accounts that survive at least, a genuinely devoted marriage. She embraced military life alongside him, learning to drive, studying first aid, and training with weapons. She was not a passive spouse waiting at home. She was really a partner in every sense that the Soviet system allowed. When war finally came in June of 1941, when Germany launched Operation Barbarossa and the Eastern Front became the largest and most devastating theater of the entire conflict, Ilya went to fight. Mariya was evacuated east, away from the advancing German forces. She spent 2 years not knowing exactly what was happening to her husband. Then, in 1943, she found out. Ilya had been killed in action in 1941, 2 full years earlier. The letter telling her had taken that long to reach her. What Mariya did next requires a moment to absorb. She did not collapse or retreat into grief. She sold everything she owned, every possession, every piece of jewelry, every item of value that she had accumulated across a lifetime, and essentially raised 50,000 rubles, enough in 1943 to, believe it or not, purchase a T-34 tank. And then she wrote a letter to Joseph Stalin. The letter was quite direct, almost startling in its plainness. She told him that her husband had been killed defending the Soviet Union. She then told him that she raised the money to buy herself a tank, and she asked Stalin's permission to go to the front as this tank's driver. She asked that the tank be named Fighting Girlfriend. She was, as I mentioned, a 40-year-old woman with no formal combat training, and she was asking the most powerful man in the Soviet Union to send her to war. Not to mention that she was hoping that he was actually going to receive this letter. Stalin, however, to everyone's surprise, said yes. He approved her request, authorized the tank, and sent a personal telegram acknowledging her contribution. The Soviet propaganda apparatus, recognizing the story's power, embraced it immediately. A middle aged widow who sold her possessions to buy a tank and then asked to drive it into battle was exactly the kind of narrative that the state wanted circulating. But Maria was not a propaganda creation. She was a real woman who had done the real thing. And what came next was entirely her own. She trained as a tank driver and mechanic, learning the T-34 with the focused intensity of someone who had a very specific purpose in mind. In October of 1943, she arrived at the front near Smolensk, assigned to the 26th Guards Tank Brigade. Her commanding officers were quite skeptical when they met her. A middle aged woman as a combat tank driver was, to put it mildly, outside their experience. She was, however, about to change their minds. Maria's first engagement came near the village of Novye Selo in November of 1943. Fighting Girlfriend rolled into combat, and Maria drove it with a ferocity that silenced the skeptics quickly. She destroyed enemy gun emplacements, infantry positions, and equipment. When the tank was damaged in the fighting, she herself then climbed out under fire to make the needed repairs. Her commanders filed reports describing her conduct in terms that they might not have believed themselves, capable of writing about a 40-year-old woman from Crimea. She was awarded the Order of the Patriotic War, but she kept on fighting. In January 1944, near the city of Vitebsk, Fighting Girlfriend was hit again, more seriously this time. Maria climbed out to assess the damage, as she had done before. This time, however, she was struck by shell fragments. The wounds were severe. She was evacuated to a field hospital, then to a hospital in Smolensk. She never recovered. Mariya Oktyabrskaya died on March 15th, 1944, 2 months after being wounded. She was 48 years old. The Soviet state, which had embraced her story while she lived, honored her in death. She was posthumously awarded the Gold Star of the Hero of the Soviet Union, the highest military honor that the state could bestow. She was one of very few women to receive it for armored combat. Her tank, Fighting Girlfriend, continued in service after her death, crewed by others who understood what the name on its side actually meant. Maria's story exists today inside a world that demands acknowledgement. The Soviet Union that produced her was also the Soviet Union of the gulags, of forced collectivization, of state terror on a scale that rivaled the enemy she died fighting. The propaganda apparatus that celebrated her was the same apparatus that imprisoned and executed millions of people. Stalin, who sent her his personal telegram of approval, had blood on his hands that no telegram could ever wash off. But we have to admit that none of this diminishes what this woman did. A woman lost her husband, turned her grief into action, bought herself a tank with everything she owned, and then drove it into the largest land war in human history. The History Brief. The following comes to us from Strange History by the editors of Portable Press. Queen Christina ruled Sweden from 1632 to 1654. What did she consider the biggest threat to her kingdom, you might ask? Fleas. The queen hated fleas and wanted each one of them, everyone she found in her palace, killed individually. To accomplish this feat, and this was long before the invention of chemical insect repellents, like you could find in Home Depot, she commissioned the construction of a tiny 1-inch long cannon that would be packed with tiny flea sized cannonballs. Whenever she spotted one, she fired the tiny cannon at it and occasionally made a kill shot. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both of those links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. Also, make sure you check out our new YouTube channel, where I recently started a new series exclusive to YouTube called 25 Events That Made America. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.